All right, here we go. This one's gonna be a 40 super test. Today we're gonna be testing out some double tap ammo. So for that first one, it is the 135 grain controlled expansion. There's what that thing looks like. It does have a massive hollow point cavity. Your standard brass case is rated 1,755 feet per second. It does say that is out of a 6-inch barrel. And for other one, that one is the 180 grain controlled expansion. Here's what that one looks like. Has that same standard brass case, and this one's rated at 1,450 feet per second. So we'll see how close we come today. So we are going to be testing out our Glock 21. That one does have a 6.88 inch extended ported barrel in it. Without those ports, or right before those ports, is right around that 6-inch mark. So hopefully we get those, nice high velocities. So we'll be going through our gel. Those are our 10% calibrated blocks. Do over a catch block behind that. So total 22 inches of gel. Our 4 layers of cotton t-shirt on the front, and like always, we'll set up our chronograph so we can hopefully pick up those impact velocities. So let's set up and see how these rounds do head to head. First one up will be that 135 grain. All right, we're setting back to 15 feet. All right, let's see what we did on that one. All right, so it looks like our impact velocity on that one was 1,754. So literally right on the dot. Rated was 1,755. So that is awesome to see, and we are using that 6-inch barrel that they're calling for. So really good to see so far. All right, and there's that hit. Looks like I got a perfect shot on that block. You can see right down in there. Man, check that out. That is insane, and a huge star pattern so far. I think is literally barely hanging on right there, but absolutely massive from the front. So let's check it out from the top. Oh yeah, that is crazy. Check that out. So pretty much came in, absolutely exploded in there. See a ton of energy dump right there. Looks like it did settle down pretty quickly though, and then you can see it did not make it out of that first block. I really wasn't expecting it to, because just the way that the way that bullet's constructed, it's super light, huge hollow point cavity, and we definitely knew it was coming apart. And I'll show you later, but it blew out a whole circle underneath our table too, so that's definitely not good. But let's check out our measurement here from the top. And like always, we'll get our a little bit more accurate cross-section measurements here later. But at our widest spot, we are at 4 1/4. So definitely quite a bit of damage. I believe that one was calling for 920 plus foot-pounds. So I think we got every bit of it, man. But check that out. That is insane. Ton of damage. That bullet just literally came apart in there. And let's check it out from the side. Man, that's nuts. Super impressed so far. So you can see as soon as that thing came in, it absolutely exploded, throwing fragmentation and everything everywhere. That bullet just came apart in there. You can see it did settle down very quickly, and then there that round is there in that first block, but just a ton of damage for sure. So let's check out what kind of measurement we have here from the side. It's definitely quite a bit. So at our widest from the side, we are just about 3 3/4. So a little bit less from the side than the top, but man, that's nuts. And then you can't see that round resting in there. Let's see at our leading edge there, we made it a total of 9.5 inches. So like I said, definitely not the most, but I'd say with that kind of damage, you definitely don't need that much penetration. That is pretty crazy stuff. So what we're gonna do is set up for that 180 grain and see how that one does. All right, we're setting back to 15 feet. right, let's see what we did on that one. All right, so it looks like our impact velocity on that one was 1402, so definitely not too bad. Rated was 1450, so, you know, still definitely good to see. So that's really only about 100 feet per second more than, like, you know, your standard, or actually, you know, on par 10 millimeters. So still did good, but definitely not the most. Definitely not like that 135 grain. All right, and there's the entry for that one. Looks like I got another good hit. Check that out, man. Right down, you can see right down that cavity once again. Another huge star pattern. So let's check it out from the top. Oh yeah, that is definitely a huge stretch cavity for sure. You can see this one's definitely getting some fragmentation as well. Luckily, we didn't collide with our 135 grain. We did have to flip the block just so that we would prevent that from happening. See a little bit more of that bullet in there. Is settling down just a little bit. We did make into that second block in quite a ways. So let's check out our measurement here from the top. Looks like we did get a little bit of a blowout. So at our widest edge from the top, we're 3 3/4. So definitely not too bad. Not the most, you know, but it's still very impressive. The first time we're testing 40 Super, and it's definitely some pretty nasty stuff. But man, that 135 is insane. But anyway, so let's check it out here from the side. So hopefully you guys are able to see that, but pretty much same thing from the side. Came in, absolutely exploded. Those bullets definitely are not rated for those type of velocities, but you can see huge chunks of that bullet, fragmentation all the way through that track. Just an insane amount of damage. You can see it did flatline a little bit, and then there it is in that second block. So let's check out the measurement here from the side. Looks like it's basically from the very bottom to the very top of that block. It's kind of hard to measure it, but we are just over 3 3/4, so literally exactly the same from the side than the top. But man, very impressive for sure. And I was expecting it to be a little bit louder. We were just testing some Dylan right before this, and man, that is just ridiculously loud. Almost instant headache even with the Ear Pro on. But this one was surprisingly not too bad, especially the way we have that 21 set up. But there is that bullet. Hopefully you guys are able to see it. It is facing upward. And at our leading edge, we are at 6 3/4. So that made it a total of 17 3/4 inches of total penetration. So really good to see. So what we're gonna do is flip this block real quick. All right, so we did flip this block over. I just wanted to get a little bit better look at those tracks. So the one on the right was that 135 grain. That one's going away from us. And then the one coming towards us is that 180 grain. So let's check this out from this side. Man, absolutely insane amount of damage. Came in, exploded in there. Fragmentation all over the place. You can see it dumped all its energy there in that first block. It settled down, and then there it is resting in that first block. And here's that 180 grain. Same thing came in. Absolutely exploded as well. This one has some huge chunks that's shearing off for sure. Looks like it's carrying that energy pretty much the whole way. Maybe that last inch or so it is settling down, and we did make into that second block, and there it is there. But man, that is definitely very impressive, and can't wait to get some more testing on this 40 Super. So let's pull these rounds and see what they look like, what's left of them at least. All right, check these things out. Looks like they both got some awesome expansion, and they definitely made it to their breaking point. So the one on the right was that 135 grain, and the one on the left was that 180 grain. So here's that 135 grain. If we could focus, but yeah, check that out. Absolutely mushroomed out to its max, started ripping those petals off, literally sheared everything off. That thing is barely hanging on. You can see there's a little bit of that copper base still left, but man, that thing just came apart. But that was super impressive, the velocity on that. You know, over 1750 feet per second is crazy for 135, but and over 900 foot-pounds for this block is it's cool that they can definitely take it. But check that out, man. Insane for sure. Like I always do, I'll get all our retained weight and all that stuff, all our last little chunks that we have in the block. Here is that 180 grain, same thing. This one definitely held together a little bit better. It wasn't going as fast, of course, but definitely did a little bit better. Mushroomed back pretty nicely. Did rip a lot of those petals off, a lot of that lead. Looks like one of those petals folded over the back of that base. But definitely some crazy stuff. Pretty impressive too. So we'll do one time from the bottom. So the one on the right was that 135 grain. One on the left was that 180 grain. and last time from the top. So like I said, I will rinse this stuff, get all our still shots, slow-mo, everything else here at the end. Once again, that one was that 40 Super, shooting that double tap 135 grain versus 180 grain. Thanks for watching, guys. All right, and here's those 40 Super shots. Just before I even cut them open, I just wanted to show you guys one more time, because the amount of damage and shrapnel in this thing is crazy. So this one on the bottom that's going this way is that 135 grain, and then this top one that's going to the left is that 180 grain. But man, just a absolutely crazy amount of damage, and this is going to be a nightmare to clean up, just with all the fragmentation that you know, these bullets are producing in this gel. Pretty crazy stuff. All right, so there's that cross section for that 135 grain. You can see just the amount of damage this thing is creating. Absolutely huge splits, and you can see all that fragmentation down in that cavity. And same here on this side. Look at the size of those cuts. Crazy stuff, and that thing pretty much turned into dust in there. So I did remeasure this. They are peaking right at 5 1/4, and they're probably averaging right around that 4 3/4 inch mark. So I believe that's exactly the same as what we're getting out there in the field. So definitely really good to see, but just crazy. And usually when we're getting that amount of damage, I think I've said it before, but that's usually right around that 41 Magnum to 44 Magnum range. So pretty cool to see, you know, this 40 Super doing that same thing. So let's cut it open. All right, so there's after being cut. So this bottom is the right side and this top is the left. So you can see pretty much on impact, probably that 1/4 inch mark where it started to open up. You can see that huge path going all the way through, and just an insane amount of damage, tons of fragmentation. Like I said, this one's going to be real fun to clean, just to try to get all that stuff out. I will try to get our retained weight and everything for that bullet. Of course, it definitely didn't hold together at those speeds, so we're probably not going to have too much weight retention, but should be interesting to see how much we have. And that thing was moving, it's, you know, 1,750 feet per second, so right on the dot for what it's rated for, which is always good to see. But man, that is just a crazy amount of damage in this gel. Pretty surprising too. I definitely you know, didn't even know what to expect, and didn't expect that at all from it. So really cool to see. So hopefully you guys can see this top path where it came in. You can really see it dug out a big canyon, and that was a huge hollow point cavity too. So you know, took a lot of gel with it, but same thing, man. Huge path going all the way through, and once again, tons of fragmentation and just a crazy amount of damage. Little tiny specks all over the place. But super impressive, man. And this is our first 40 Super test. Like I said, you know, didn't really know what to expect. We knew it was going to be crazy, but not like this. And, you know, out of that Glock 21, it definitely was a pretty smooth and sweet shooter, too. Nothing too crazy. But check that out, man. That is insane. Regardless of the penetration, you know, it didn't really get too much. The amount of damage kind of made up for it, for sure. But you can see those massive cuts. Pretty darn impressive though. So there we go. That one was that 135 grain. All right, and there's that cross section for that 180 grain. So pretty much same thing as that last one. Absolutely huge splits down in there. Really bad spider webbing for sure. You can see all that fragmentation down in there as well. Same here on this side. You can see a big chunk of that lead right there. I did remeasure these. They are peaking and averaging right at the same, right at 4 1/4 inches. So definitely a little bit less than that last one, but still, man, you know, pretty darn impressive. That one was moving at 1,400 feet per second, so it was definitely doing good. And usually, you know, your extra spicy 10mm with that same grain weight of bullet is right around that 1,300 feet per second mark if you're lucky. So to get an extra 100 feet per second is, you know, definitely good to go. All right, and here's after being cut. So this bottom is the right side and this top is the left. So you can see on this one, I guess kind of, it really damaged this gel pretty good, but right around that 1/4 inch mark where it started to open up. And once again, you can see that huge path going all the way through. A lot more fragmentation down in there, and just a crazy amount of damage. Huge splitting. There's a big chunk of that lead. I pulled out a couple pieces already, but you know, that's not even the half of it. We will get all of it here in a second so we can get our pictures and stuff. But that thing definitely came apart, and both those bullets were different, you know, bullet design. They definitely weren't the same, but they pretty much reacted the same, especially at those velocities. But here's that top, same thing, came in, opened up. Once again, a huge path. There's a huge chunk of the bullet down in there. Part of the copper, probably jacket mainly. But same thing, huge splitting down in there. And just some very impressive stuff. So we are going to be doing quite a few tests with this. Also, we're going to be probably putting it up against the 41 Magnum and, you know, the Dillon, probably the 45 Super. We're going to be doing a lot of testing with it. So it should definitely be pretty fun. Let's do one more quick angle so we can get a little bit better view. Check that out. There's another huge chunk of that copper jacket in there, but massive splitting for sure. Same on this side. Very impressive. And was definitely fun, you know, to put a new caliber here on the channel. That's always a good thing. But there we go, guys. That one was at 180 grain controlled expansion, loaded by DoubleTap. Thanks again for watching.